All right, guys, I just passed the 1-year anniversary of me owning my Kawasaki Versys 650, 2009 model. Give you a good look at the bike before I hop on and we'll talk about it more. I'm going to talk about 5 things I love about this bike and maybe one thing that not so much. I'm just so glad it's actually nice weather today, man. Like, this morning was pretty cold, pretty cloudy, chance of rain, and then now, like, the ride on my way home is blue skies. It's perfect. It's probably 65 degrees. It is gorgeous. Gotta watch this loose gravel right here. Looks a little dangerous. But the Kawasaki Versys 650, oh my gosh, I have just fell in love with this bike over this year that I've had this bike. It's just so much fun, and I'm going to talk about 5 things I love about this bike. Number 1 is the 650 motor that's in this bike, and I'm guessing most 650s like the SV 650 and other bikes are, you know, it's similar, but man, the power of this bike, it will scoot when you need it to scoot, but it's very predictable power. Like right now I'm in 4th gear, I'm going 47 miles per hour. I twist the throttle and I got power. You know, I probably would have been better off in 3rd gear, but hey, I had power. This bike has power pretty much everywhere in the rev range, as long as you're not in too high of a gear. It's usable, predictable power, and it's just, I never find myself in a situation where I need more power. Now, it's not a speed demon. It's not a bike that's going to scare you, and that's what I like about it. It's the perfect power. You know, when you get my age, I'm 32, I've been riding for 11 years, you don't need that super scary fast stuff, man. I really don't care at all to hit triple digits ever again. I'm kind of past that, so I love the power of this motorcycle. Number 2 thing that I love about this bike in the year that I've owned it is the reliability. So like when I bought this bike, I put tires on it, coolant flush, brake flush. Let's see, what else did I do? Oil change, you know, your chain maintenance, all that stuff. Guess what? I've had this bike a year. Guess what I've done to it? I have cleaned the chain. That's it. I mean, it's just fine. Like, it has not done anything. Nothing's broke on it. There's no weird noises. There's no weird smells. Everything works like it should. So in the first year of ownership, this thing has been super reliable, and I have heard people getting these things to 95,000 miles with like no problems. Number 3 thing I like about my Kawasaki Versys 650 is versatility. And what I mean by that is I'm kind of at the age where I don't know what kind of riding I want to do, you know? Like, right now I treat it like a sport bike. You know, I still like I still like to rip around. I'll hit a wheelie here and there. It's got the power to do that, and I treat it like a sport bike, you know. And I can turn this thing into an adventure bike. I could put some kind of dual sport tires on it and do some off-roading with it. I could make this into a cross-country touring bike if I wanted to and throw some bags on it. There's just a lot you can do with this bike. This bike is really, it's a Swiss Army knife of motorcycles, and I absolutely love it for that, because depending on what mood I'm in, this bike can kind of do everything. So I really don't find myself looking for bikes, you know, to do certain things, because I feel like this bike, you know, could do everything that I want to do when it comes to riding. So the versatility is fantastic. And number 4, I like that this bike is unique. I don't see people riding these bikes, and some people might look at that as a con. I look at it as a pro. You know, I'm the only guy that I've seen around here with a Versys 650. I'm the only guy. I've never seen another one of these bikes in the wild. And I feel like if I ever do see one, it's going to be a newer model. It's not going to be the one with a single headlight like I got. So it's unique. People ask what it is, and a lot of people don't even know that Kawasaki made this bike, you know what I mean? And I like that. I like being different. You know, if you were behind me, you would probably think I'm on some kind of a, you know, Ninja 650 or something like that, and then you see the front of it and you're like, what the heck is that thing? Looks like a Cyclops or something. Like, what's the deal with that headlight? And I know it's not the best looking thing, it's not the sportiest looking thing, it's not the sexiest bike in the world. It's sexy to me, don't worry, I love you, but I know people don't think this is a sexy bike. But I like that it's a little different. I like that it's a topic to talk about. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a little different, so I like that. And now to number 5. There's probably more things that I like about this bike that I could throw on the list, but just off the top of my head, here's number 5. It's a Kawasaki. Anybody that knows me knows that I was a Yamaha guy. My first 3 motorcycles were Yamahas. I never thought I would get something else. I was completely fine with having a Yamaha for the rest of my life. Well, while I was looking for my next motorcycle and I was looking for a Yamaha, I wasn't having any luck finding what I wanted to find. I was looking for MT-03s, I was looking for MT-07s. I couldn't find anything in my area or in my price range, and I kept seeing this bike pop up on Facebook Marketplace, and I went and talked to the guy, and I saw the bike in person, and I absolutely loved it. And I knew I wasn't taking a risk by getting a Kawasaki. I knew that it was going to be a solid, reliable Japanese bike. But now I really feel like I have fell in love with Kawasaki, and I feel like my next motorcycle that I look for, if I get a next motorcycle, I feel like I'm going to start looking for a Kawasaki, because I have really fell in love with this bike. And also a little bonus, these bikes are so easy to find neutral. Kawasaki has that figured out. If you know, you know. But now on to the one thing, and I was trying to think of things that I dislike about this bike, and there's nothing. I mean, I could really nitpick a few things, like this little dash was a little buzzy when I got it, and I put a piece of foam right here to help that buzziness, that like lower RPMs. Everything feels pretty quality about this bike, so I have no complaints other than the little buzziness. But whatever, you know, it's a 2-cylinder bike. It's gonna thump a little bit. But the one thing that I could change, but I don't want to change, and that's the height of the bike. I am 5'9", I'm a little on the shorter side, and this bike is just a tad bit too tall where I can't flat foot. Now when I come to a stop, I lean to one side, I'll put my left leg down, I keep my right foot on the rear brake, and that's not a problem. And that's the technique you're supposed to do, right? Is cover that rear brake and stuff like that. So that's not a problem. The only time I really find it aggravating is when I'm trying to flat foot, like when I'm waiting on something. Like if I'm, like today I was at the bank drive-through and I was waiting for a slot to open, and I was just trying to stand there and I couldn't flat foot the bike, so it was a little annoying. But that's nitpicking, and I said a very, very small thing I dislike, but that's it. This bike is pretty much perfect and I love it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to talk to you. Have a good one.